guys, Brandon and Jasmine from nerdlocker.com here, and we've got comic book news and reviews for you.
That's right. This week we've got some Wolverine news and reviews for Action Comics number 3 and Captain America Fear Itself 7.1 and much more. So,
let's get to it.
I think the only thing that could make the upcoming Wolverine movie any better is the fact that James Mangold wants to make it a character piece and really get an in-depth idea of the Wolverine. And
yeah, he said it's not going to be a conventional superhero film. It's going to have more in common with The Outlaw Josie Wales and Chinatown. And I love, and when I say love, I mean hate, that superhero films are becoming artsy.
I don't hate that.
I can't stand it.
I think the fact that they have little twists that make them better.
Really, like, I'm letting you know, my expectations for a Wolverine film are a character movie. I want a character. I want Wolverine stabbing people in the face with his claws.
I think that sometimes
that's what I want.
Video game movies and comic book movies go overboard with the idea of crazy things happening and effects, so it's nice to see something that's more sort of in-depth, sort of how The Incredible Hulk was.
Which one? The Incredible Hulk or the Hulk?
With Edward Norton, the Hulk.
Okay.
Sorry, my bad.
No, that's The Incredible Hulk.
Okay, I got it right.
Either way, that's fine, but that wasn't a character piece. It's still Hulk smash.
True, but
and
even Hulk had personality.
You can have personality without making it an artsy little character film.
It's not going to be an artsy little character film.
Wolverine, and he's going to be all in depth. I want to see stabbing, claw, shink, just
shink, shink.
Right there, right there, right there.
I have ovaries there.
Everywhere.
All I'm saying is that Hugh Jackman is good enough of an actor to where you can make it more of an in-depth movie. If it was anyone else, I would be sort of taken aback by it.
I'm going to pre-call this now and say if they do this artsy thing, it's going to be worse than the first one.
I'm going to say it's going to be better than the first two.
Let us know what you guys think in the comments below. Agree, disagree.
Hey guys, Bobby here with my comic reviews for the week, and my first one is Infinite Vacation number 3. I'm saying we've had at least 6 months since the second issue, and I was dying for more on this book. The basic idea is we live in this book. It is set in the future where we realize that there are alternate universes, and we can take vacations on those alternate universes in the place of our alternate self. It's a very interesting concept. I was really on board all the way. And the second issue kind of brings on up the idea that there is one of the main character's alternate personalities that is going around killing all of him in every alternate universe. Very confusing, but nonetheless, I love the book. The third issue brings an entire new aspect to it, several different aspects to it. The third issue is definitely my favorite out of all of them so far, and I can't wait to read more from this writer, Nick Spencer. He's one of my favorites. He's also writing Morning Glories and a couple other of the bigger name books. He did a Jimmy Olsen special. Excellent writer. I'm interested in reading the next book. I'm going to give this book 4 out of 5 Nerd Skulls. My second comic review for the week is going to be a book called Our Love is Real by Sam Humphrey. The concept is in a world where AIDS has been cured, now everyone is allowed to have sexual relations with any animal, plant, mineral that they want. Very interesting. Sick, definitely. I wasn't very voiced in my opinion that I wanted to read this book early on. I didn't want too many people to know, but I really did enjoy the book. It was really good. The ending was really cool. I am very happy that it was just a one-shot because I would feel very embarrassed going into a comic shop buying this book monthly, knowing that it's about people having sex with dogs and the like. Very weird, but I loved it. I'm going to give this book 4 out of 5 Nerd Skulls.
Hey there, nerds. Jasmine and Bobby here with a comic review for you. It is The Strange Talent of Luther Strode number 2. I love this book so much, and Bobby loves it so much that we want to do the review together. All I want to say is that if you're not reading this comic, you need to go pick it up. It's amazing. It's hilarious. The art's great. It's everything you want.
Although it did sell out on the first issue, I don't think enough eyes are seeing this book because it is absolutely incredible. It's kick-ass where it emphasizes more on the comedy and less on the crazy shock value.
Blood.
You know, it's really good with the gore and with that stuff too, but it's more about the comedic effect. I love this book. I want everyone to be reading this book. I do not want it to go anywhere. So you guys should all be reading this book. What do you give it?
I'm going to give it, if I could give it more, I would. I'm going to give it 5 out of 5 Nerd Skulls, for sure.
I'm going to give 5.5. All right, 5 out of 5 Nerd Skulls.
Go read it right now.
Read this book.
My next review is Heart Number 1, written by Blair Butler from Fresh Ink, and she's also on G4. This book is really cool in its aspect that it is about a mixed martial arts fighter. It's a guy who lives a normal life who slowly follows his brother into this path. It has black and white art, and it's basically just narrated by your main character. It's just sort of boring. There really isn't enough to captivate you to want to keep reading after this issue because it's really just going to be about a guy fighting. There's really no extra story leading into whatever else he's going to do. It was really well written, and the art was very good, but I wouldn't want to read the second issue of it. And I think that's with the number one, your most important sort of goal to reach is that everyone loves it and they want to see what happens next. So with that being said, I'm going to give it 2 out of 5 Nerd Skulls.
Hey gang, Jim here with a comic book review. It's a little weird, you don't usually see me on here for the reviews, but DC sent us a great graphic novel, Batman Noel, and we were lucky enough that they sent us a signed edition by the artist and writer himself, Lee Bermejo. Just to give you a little basis here, I am pretty much stuck in the 90s with my comic book knowledge. That was when I really was into comic books heavily. Got back into it about the last 2 years, so I'm picking back up. I am a total Marvel fan, so my DC knowledge is not great. That being said, I've read The Killing Joke as far as graphic novels, Arkham Asylum, Dark Knight Returns. I did read Strikes Again. That wasn't the greatest thing ever. Batman Year One, all fantastic reads. I really think DC has done another great job here with Noel. I love how they incorporated Charles Dickens' classic, A Christmas Carol. Fantastic how they didn't necessarily bring out exact script from that book, but the way they told it with the narrator, I don't want to give away who the narrator is, but the narrator throughout the whole story, basically alluding to that story, Charles Dickens, the whole time, was fantastic. There was also this great twist in it. It's not really a twist because it's the base of the whole story. This great concept that it's a little bit of I Am Legend in that the main character thinks they're this wonderful hero. But if you just turn your perspective a little bit, they realize that no, not really. They're doing some pretty awful things that affect a lot of people and that their perspective isn't always right. And I think that's great. And that sort of goes along with the whole main character, as I said. Definitely check it out. Special thanks to DC for sending us this. I will definitely give this 4 out of 5 Nerd Skulls.
Hey guys, Cubby here with my comic reviews. My first review this week, Action Comics number 3 by Grant Morrison and Rags Morales. Now, I've read the last 2, loved both of them, and I gotta say, this third one, it kind of slowed down a little bit story-wise, but it's still good. It's still hitting all those marks. It gives a little more backstory into Krypton and actually shows you a glimpse of like the way Krypton's supposed to look nowadays. It gives you a little more insight into Clark Kent's actual life and how he operates and him dealing with Superman and everyone's hatred of this Superman character that's been showing up. A lot of cool things in the artwork with this book. As always, Rags Morales does amazing pencil work, but he also throws in a lot of very cool little things that if you're paying attention to the actual story and looking at the panels and actually reading it instead of just skimming through it, you'll notice things going on that referenced later, and they totally like slid under your nose. I had to read this book like 3 times to catch everything, and I think I might have missed some stuff, so I'm going to go back through it again later. In summation, I'd totally have to give this book 4.5 Nerd Skulls. All right, guys, my second review this week was Last of the Greats number 2. This one was an awesome book of the first issue. It kind of just threw crazy loops and turns at the very end, and it kept me entertained. The second issue came out, so I was totally down to read it, and I gotta say, I actually really still enjoy this book. It is a lot of fun. It's really dark and really, really disturbing, but not in a perverted way or in a way that makes you feel uncomfortable. It's just a superhero being a dick, straight up. It's Superman with no moral code, and it's kind of cool to see that. We've seen it a couple different ways. DC's done it before, but Josh Hale-Fikolov just kind of has a way of doing it that makes it really, really cool. He finds an orphan child, and instead of actually saving him, he just murders him. And really, you could kind of make the comparison that, is he really saving him, or is he, just committing murder because of what he's going to do later? But it's one of those moral quandaries you can solve for yourself. So Go pick it up. Go check it out. I have to give this book 3.5 Nerd Skulls. All right, guys, my final book this week was Misdirection #1. It's actually a pilot and season book, so I was totally stoked to read it because these books have been awesome. And this one's actually written by Philip Sublick. He has been around comics for a little while, so it was nice to see him doing something new. The artist was Chris DeBarra, and he actually did some pretty cool work. He has an interesting an interesting style, kind of influenced by like Darwin Cook-ish, like animated, stylized artwork. But it had a lot of cool motion lines, and there's a lot of action in this book, and he carries that over really well onto the page. About the story, really, really interesting for me at least. I love racing, I love cars, I love all that cool action-y bro stuff. And this book kind of has it all, but it doesn't overdo it. It actually has a little bit of substance, where it follows a former race car driver, a NASCAR driver, who kind of disgraces himself in the public spotlight and ruins his career, ruins his life. His wife divorces him. He has a child, but he's in prison while the child is born. Yada, 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 yada. He's a construction worker. A friend comes to him with an opportunity that turns out to be something worse. So it's an interesting take on something we've seen a million times, but I liked it. I got to say, I've seen that story. I've read it. I've seen it in movies. Sometimes it's done bad. This was a good job, and I got to say, I'm definitely going to be in it I'm going to definitely vote for this one, and I hope they do a second issue. I'm going to give it 4 Nerd Skulls.
What's going on, guys? Brandon here with some comic reviews for you this week. First off, I got Fleshdigger #1 from Image. It's part of the pilot season thing. I enjoyed this a lot, actually. Cool little revenge story, some witchcraft stuff thrown in there. Basically, you got a fighter who is walking home from work. Cute girl gives him his number. Like, all right, I'm going to go hang out with you. And he stops a mugging, but gets killed. One of the women who was part of the mugging actually says a spell, and he's reborn 7 months later, and just now he has supernatural powers. Kind of looks like this creepy zombie thing. I don't know. I like it a lot. You guys should pick this up. I'm going to give it 4 out of 5 Nerd Skulls. My second review this week is Fear Itself 7.1 Captain America. I wasn't excited about this going into it because I'm sick of this .1. More crap. Buy our books. Let us know what's going on. This was really, really cool. It sets you up for Brubaker's next project, which I can't wait for. By the time I got to the end of this, I just wanted it to continue. I really can't tell you much about it other than that it's awesome because it is nothing but spoilers. But pick this up, 5 out of 5 Nerd Skulls. All right, that is going to do it for all of our comic book news and reviews for this week. Until next week, be sure to follow us on Twitter, like us on Facebook, and subscribe to our YouTube page, as well as checking out nerdlocker.com for all your nerdy news.
And we'd also like to send a special thank you to Maximum Comics. And if you're out there and you like any suggestions or anything that you want us to review, feel free to email us at info@nerdlocker.com.
I'm Brandon.
And I'm Jasmine.
And we'll see you next week for even more comic book news and reviews.